Okay, welcome back to the second chapter of series one of my Human Design Creative Flow 6-session series. So today we're doing In Sync with Cycles. This is the second part. And In Sync with Cycles contains awareness of rhythms, decision making, contemplation, fixed and flow, and food and environments. So, awareness of rhythms. When we look at the human design chart and we get to know our own body graph, there are ways that we can start to see and become aware of what our own personal rhythm looks like. So there is a channel of rhythm, and you might have the fixed side or the sort of extreme flow side, or you may not have either of those. So you can still have neither of those neither of the gates of the channel of rhythm, and still have a particular rhythm that you will be able to work with when you understand that your body graph. So what we're looking for as well is like the authority that is in your body. Are you somebody that likes to have fixed scheduling, or are you focused on the tasks that you're doing, or are you right brained and kind of open to changing things, or do you need things to be in a linear cycle? There are a lot of different factors involved in coming to understand what your own rhythm is, and you will have a rhythm and you will have a cycle. And so understanding like how your internal works will be reflecting on your external environment. So decision making is a huge part of this. So your inner authority, understanding how your body guides you into decision making. These are all of the different types of decision making that we see. The no truth in the now is an emotional authority. So they need time to allow an emotional wave to cycle through. So they're really not about making any immediate or fast or spontaneous decisions. They need to wait for this cycle. On the flip side, the instant instinct is something that a splenic authority will have, and that's the total opposite. They work with a very spontaneous, subtle guidance system, which is speaking to them about what move to make next. So we've got energy to move there as well. If you're sacrally defined, then it's what literally your body is moving you towards. So you will come to understand like how that energy flows and cycles. And, a sacral energy has quite a fixed state of energy. But if you're an open sacral, then you'll be looking at some of the other impacts which guide how your body moves. 28-day cycles is a reflector type, so they have no definition in their body graph. They work by the lunar cycles to make decisions. The will to act. So if you've got a will center definition, then you'll be making decisions based on what you have, the will to achieve, what you want to prove. The promises that you're keeping. There's sort of like a drive and a material drive in that ego center, but it also has a pulse. It works to rest is the method. So that's, understanding if you have that definition, or even if you don't, it's looking at that synthesis of the chart for understanding how that is impacting your flow. If you're speaking it, you might be somebody that has to have the energy in order to speak about what it is that they're going to do. They have to listen to themselves. And soundboarding is a type when they're speaking what it is that they think they're going to do, and they are looking for reflections in the environment, or maybe what somebody's saying back to them, or how they feel, how they respond when someone says like their idea back to them. So getting in touch, understanding your decision-making strategy is going to have an impact on your own creative flow state. Here's the body graph if you haven't seen it before. We've got 9 energy centers here, depending on your definition. Definition comes from the gates being connected across 2 energy centers. So you can see there are 64 numbers which are throughout all of the different energy centers. When you've got 2 on either side connecting, And I don't think there's one in that example there. So they're all hanging gates. So there's no definition. That's why they're all open. You can see that if there were to be two gates connecting and a full channel bridging it, then we would have the definition of those two channels. But since it's all open, this is, yeah, the example is an open state. But there's a hierarchy as well with these energy centers. So depending on what is defined in your chart, will give you a hierarchy and then will inform what your decision making is. Then it's on to contemplation. So you're noticing and tracking how it is that you're feeling, how you're operating, what your schedule is looking like, and what is your emotional state, or what is your physical state? Are you feeling energized or tired or depleted? Are things flowing easily? Are you feeling angry about situations or frustrated about situations? Are things opening up for you to move freely through them? Or are you constantly experiencing sort of like blocks and dead ends? So it's noticing and tracking, and we can look at the body graph in your chart to understand like maybe where some of those blocks are coming from, and what how your inner conditions are indicating your state of alignment, and thereby your ability to access creative flow. Um, so that is important. Fixed and flow. So some people are going to have a more consistent schedule. They're going to want to be doing the same things every day, and they're going to want to protect that. Whereas some other people have a completely open flow state where they're really moving through extremes, and their weeks look very different and their days look very different. And that is natural for both of those types. Again, it depends on the activations in your chart. But coming to understand that is going to help you inform a schedule, whether you should be sticking to something and like ensuring that you do the same thing all the time, or whether it's actually okay that you let go into variety and movement in that schedule. Again, it depends on where your definition is as to where we're looking at, whether it's open and there's that fixed state or that flow state. So you can still have flow state if you have a fixed rhythm. That's where it's really good to start to marry or to understand like how things are actually feeling for you and tracking it. Obviously, gives us an ability to communicate with the people who we're around to let them know whether we need to maintain that fixed schedule, because we can end up in these circumstances where external things are trying to influence how we are. And if we're very fixed in our scheduling, but people are trying to get us to be more spontaneous or get us to change things up a bit, it's actually not correct for us to do that. And vice versa, there might be people who really need to keep things moving and open and like not a repeat pattern. And again, that's to be protected. So understanding that is going to help us with creative flow, having that open communication. And finally, mentioning the doshas. It's an Ayurvedic principle, and the doshas give us some guidance for the best times of the day to use your energy for certain things. So for instance, when you first wake up, your mind is still quite like half in that dream state, so it's really good for visioning and for planning your day, or for doing meditations, or doing anything that's in that devotional state. And then you want to be doing your hardest work kind of in the middle of the day. Then your creative work comes more easily in the afternoon or the evening. So there's more to it than that, looking at the doshas. But I wanted to bring that in because I think it's so helpful, even for people who are very fixed. It can give them a way to define what jobs they do in different parts of the day. But even for someone who's really flowing, they may not have the same schedule every day. I'm a full flow person, so I've actually played with the doshas, and it didn't work for me to always do it the same way. But having awareness of what the doshas are mean that if I am, ever looking for my point of alignment to flow into, I have that framework which helps me if I want to lean into a creative practice in the afternoon. So it does still help give guidance even for somebody who's very extreme in the openness and the flow. Now, the last slide for today's session is food and environments. With the human design system, we get the primary health system. So, PHS lets us know for us uniquely what is a good condition to eat our food in, how we should be intaking food, which supports like how our brain works and how we're thinking, and what environment will be the most sort of like productive or effective in to be in full alignment with ourselves. So, understanding primary health system is really important. Of course, with human design, we're always coming back to following that inner authority and that organic guidance and implementing things when it feels like the time is right. And specifically for food and environments, we're only to be adopting the food strategy and going into those environments when it's the right timing for us in accordance with that inner authority guiding us in that way. So we're still not wanting to like force anything on top of anyone, but it's having that awareness. You kind of get that full planning of alignment of like what it would look like, or what direction we're kind of heading into, that would feel in the optimum creative state. The gut microbiome has a lot to do with our cycles and our rhythms and our emotions and our feelings and how our brain works. And so bringing all of this online and having, clearing up and having clarity in the gut, is really going to help us with our flow state. Conflict shocks and Germanic New Medicine. Germanic New Medicine is something that it's kind of I've recently come to, and I really love it because it's a completely natural way of managing ailments or chronic conditions. Um, in terms of looking at everything that like every illness or ailment or chronic condition comes from a originating conflict shock or trigger event, and it could be emotional trigger or just kind of some kind of shocking event where the body has then gone on and created this symptom. The symptom is actually a sign of the healing process. So it's about sort of like the hands off approach and understanding that whatever that symptom is isn't actually the thing that we want to be jumping in and treating, but just allowing and recognizing that that symptom is a sign of healing, and recognizing what that original conflict was. So it's really getting to the root problem. Again, this is a really sustaining and substantial approach to healing. And as we heal the gut, as we are intaking food in the right environments in the correct way, and we're getting to the root cause of those conflict shocks, those triggers and traumas, which we all carry and we all experience. We're really cleaning and clearing the system in order to be in better alignment, and better alignment is going to have better creative flow impact. So we're going to be able to, continuously follow, be in the right place at the right time, doing what we need to be doing, which is going to lead us into our purpose and our fulfillment of what we are here to be, and what we are here to achieve in the way we need to achieve it, which is, of course, highly differentiated, which is why human design helps to support that uniqueness, that unique differentiation. So, with that being said, yesterday's session and this session, I hope it's been helpful for you so far. And I look forward to seeing you in the next session where we're going to move on to a deeper look at the human design system.